A new group of Syrians is returning home. Thousands have made this journey in recent months, but the numbers are still small. Lebanon hosts over 1 million refugees from the war in Syria. Authorities say it is time for them to go home, now that much of the country is back under the Syrian government's control. But there are those who accuse Bashar al-Assad's government of re-establishing repressive rule. They cite the southern province of Daraa as an example.
There is a lot of insecurity for the population there, for former rebels, as well as for civilians, people who never engaged in military action, but who have a record as people supporting the opposition, of being against the government.
The opposition in Daraa had agreed to a negotiated surrender for an amnesty, but some say the so-called reconciliation agreements are not being respected. Instead, there have been arbitrary arrests. International organizations, including the UN, say the lack of security guarantees is why many refugees are afraid to go back.
8 years into the conflict, and we haven't seen any reform being done by the Syrian government towards the security situation, especially Syrian security services that are responsible for crimes against humanity, including enforced disappearances, arbitrary detention, torture, and death in custody.
Lebanon's politicians are divided on whether it is safe for Syrian refugees to return home. But the refugee affairs portfolio is now run by a politician allied to the Syrian government. The newly appointed minister, Saleh Gharib's first act in office was to visit Damascus. It further politicized the issue.
There are some politicians who criticize the visit, saying it breached the government's policy of not intervening in regional conflicts. They believe refugee returns, as well as normalized ties and direct contacts with Damascus, should not happen until an internationally backed political solution is reached in Syria.
Many in Lebanon complain about the refugee population's impact on the country's economy and infrastructure. Those who hold power say they will push ahead with what they call voluntary and safe returns. For many Syrians, that could mean more difficult conditions to discourage them from staying. Zeina, Khodr, Al Jazeera, Beirut.